Hey guys, welcome aboard the Deadweight Industries E92 M3. We're going on a bit of a road trip today. It's a long drive through some 60-mile construction zone, so it's pretty boring. We thought we'd make this video about this car. This is Dave. He's building this car. Do you want to tell us a bit about this build, Dave?
As you know, I love going to the Nürburgring, and it's a pretty expensive hobby. So I think part of the reason why I wanted to build an M3, it's a lot newer than the MX-5 I used to have. It's also a lot newer and cheaper to run than the GT3 that I've got. And having something newer means we've got an opportunity to rent it out and work with EVN Ring Rentals to rent out a right-hand drive DCT M3. So EVN has this business model with a number of different cars. They've got an M2 and the GT3 that they currently do that with, but they don't, and also an M3, and they're all left-hand drive cars. So speaking to Frank, the owner, there's definitely an opportunity to capture the right-hand drive market, and predominantly the Brits that go over there to rent cars. So in sort of further conversations with Frank, it kind of made sense for me to sort of look at, trading in the MX-5, which is a little bit old and rusty. Love that car to death, but needed something a little bit newer. So I found a beautiful Java green E92 M3 DCT with only 45,000 miles on the clock. So, and it was pretty much stock standard, and hence what we wanted to do then was turn it into a really nice Clubsport build. And Clubsport obviously isn't going to be too hardcore. It's going to be fairly easy for, let's say, someone who's not very experienced on the ring to drive. So the focus with the Clubsport being cage for safety, harnesses and seats for that sort of great driver experience. We've also put in KW Clubsport suspension, and then soon to go on is going to be some PROTRACK 18-inch wheels with Cup 2 tyres, and that pretty much completes that package for Clubsport. So in terms of power, it's running all stock power. The exhaust is pretty much standard. The only other things I've done in terms of modifications is a full DO88 kit, which is the full cooling kit for DCT cooler, radiator, oil cooler, and also the power steering radiator. So this is going to add to its reliability on the track, and will hopefully keep it doing a lot more laps before it needs sort of to do any servicing. So primarily that's why I built the Clubsport car. So it's going to be there to help me subsidise my habit at the ring, and also be a fun car that I'm happy to drive all day, every day.
That's the thing, isn't it? Like, the ring is like a crack addiction, so thanks for introducing me to it. I've definitely gone bankrupt since doing my first lap of the ring.
That's right. Shout out to Vera for putting up with my antics. But I think the other part, right? We did say it was the Deadweight Industries E92 M3. So we do a lot of testing on our batteries with this vehicle. So it does a lot of ring miles, but it's also my daily driver. So when it actually does eventually go to the ring, it's still going to continue testing our batteries there. It's going to be driven pretty hard. And I think the other thing we're also doing is our piston lab adventures. So as part of membership, we want to be able to offer a Nürburgring experience. So we want people to be able to rent and drive a ring tool at the ring. And because we're based in the UK, most of our clients and members are based in the UK, a right-hand drive car makes sense.
Yeah, I guess just want to talk about that a little bit further, because last time I was at the ring, I did quite a few laps in your MX-5, the turbo MX-5. It was absolutely awesome. I think we were going up Adenauer Forst, and you just hear this bang, and then so the gearbox decided to punch a hole in itself. So we got bongo chucked off off the track. And then, so yeah, we didn't have a car. That was very early on the weekend, so we didn't have a car for the rest of the weekend. So actually we went to Frank at EVN, and he was nice enough to hook us up with a Seat Cupra. But the thing about the Cupra was, you know, it was left-hand drive. I'm a bit of a noob on the ring, so, you know, like there's a lot going on and you're like trying to focus on driving. So the last thing you kind of want is an additional thing to think about, like being on the other side of the car. So I remember a few times where like hitting apexes, I was quite close to, you know, like closer than I thought I was, around some corners to the barrier. So I think it's just going to be really nice to have a car that's in right-hand drive. You know, you can just jump in, and this car, I guess, just the way it's set up, it's really, really friendly, I guess, to be in and drive. So yeah, I think that'd be really nice for Brits or Australians or Canadian, Japanese customers to come in and just hop in these cars and be able to go for it.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think one of the other things is, let's say, another reason why we picked the DCT car is that it's something else you don't have to worry about on the ring, is changing gears. So you can either drive in full auto mode or have it with the DCT, the faster shift, and it's like a computer game, right? At the end of the day, changing gears makes it so much easier. And I think for any sort of right-hand drivers out there, it is much more intuitive to get into a car that you learn how to drive in, as opposed to renting a left-hand drive car and trying to sort of navigate your way around the ring. So there's also another E92 M3 Clubsport for rental through EVN, but it is a left-hand drive car. It is DCT. As I know a lot of Brits do rent that car, they jump in it, but again, you're not intuitively on the correct side of the car, according to the Brits. Yeah. So it does take a little bit of getting used to, whereas when you kind of grow up learning how to drive a right-hand drive car, you jump in it and it's a no-brainer. It's nice and easy. You just got to focus on not crashing, as opposed to trying to figure out what side of the car, changing gears, that kind of stuff.
So I think, we're making this video in 2021. It was a bit of a shit year last year. I don't think anyone really got out as much as we wanted to. So I guess you'd be available from 2021 season, is that right?
Yeah, I think as soon as we're allowed to travel over to Germany, so the car needs to head over there and needs to be TUV'd. So just going back to the build, like there's so many great aftermarket parts for E92s, but the primary thing that we needed to make easy was every part that's on the car needs to be TUV'd.
So for those of you who's not familiar, TUVs is kind of like German standard for car modification. Well, it's for lots of things. It's the standards that you have to adhere to, but especially for cars on the road. It makes it compliance and insurable. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So it's equivalent to an MOT. All the parts that are fitted to a vehicle which are non-standard need to meet their regulations to enable it to be roadworthy. So most of the parts are German, which inherently help. So KW suspension obviously is TUV. We've got a Wiechers cage, which is just a bolt-in cage. Adds to the safety, it's TUV'd. We've got Scroth harnesses in here, which are also legal. And then we've got the Recaro Pole Position seats, which are very comfortable, and again, also TUV'd. So the other aspect of mounting seats is the actual mounting hardware. So there's lots of brands out there like VAC mounts, Michelin, but we've gone for Burkhardt, and Burkhardt are a German company, TUV'd, and they are very much plug and play. So that stuff's in the car as well. So wheels are ProTracks. I think we were going to go for ATS, like a lot of other people did, but unfortunately because of coronavirus, their company has folded. So we've gone to the next best thing, which is ProTrack, which are all the rage. And again, TUV approved. So and they don't look too bad on the car either. So the car is almost done. The only other two things that need to be fitted are the GT4 rear wing and a GT4 splitter, and then downforce, a little bit downforce, stability, and then we'll complete the overall look of the car, and it will essentially head over to Germany, get registered, get insured, and then be part of the EVN fleet ready for rental. So hopefully, I'm hoping July 2021 we can get this car over there ready for rental.
Nice, and I guess I just want to say these seats are probably like one of my absolute favourite seats of all time. They hold you in so well, but super comfortable as well. Like, you know, I could sit in this for hours and hours and no problems. Like today's drive is pretty long. We have to go for a 4-hour drive up north and then 4 hours back. So I'm glad I'm sitting in these, that's for sure.
Yeah, they're not quite as comfy as the stock seats. They're a hell of a lot more comfortable than SPGs. Let's put it that way.
Nice. And I guess for you guys who turn up at the Nürburgring, you probably can't miss this car. So like Dave said before, it's Java green, so it literally just pops. And I think the new PROTRACK wheel you got, gold. So I guess a bit of homage to your homeland of Australia. Green and gold, yeah. So yeah, I think you'll see this thing zipping around.
Definitely, and I think it'll be used a lot by the Piston Lab family and members. So, I mean, that's the advantage of having a vehicle insured at the ring. So when you're taking it out, you know that you're going to be covered in any incidents involved in the car. I think the main thing you just need to be aware of is the excess. But at the end of the day, the excess might be expensive, but at least it stops you from going bankrupt.
From ruining your life.
Yeah, exactly.
We know a few people's done that, don't we?
Yeah, indeed.
And I guess a big thing about the Clubsport build is, I think, the E92 platform is, I guess, a bit of a luxury sports car / GT car when it comes out of the factory. So by nature, it's quite a heavy car, yeah? So it's high 1600s, I think, kilos.
I think it's around 1650.
1650, so it's a pretty chunky car. So I guess a lot of what you're trying to do is take weight out. Do you want to tell us about some of the, like, what the weight differences be with the stuff that you've done here?
Yeah, so I think 1650, I think, was roughly what the original weight of the vehicle was. And I think by default, the bits that we needed to change would also make the car a little bit lighter. So the seats have been replaced with the pole positions and mounts. So I think we've saved roughly 20 kilos a side on the factory seats.
Wow,
I think it's
20
factory
kilos
seats.
a side.
I think the factory seats are close to 30, and I think this pole position Burkhardt mount setup is around 10 kilograms. So it's around 15 to 20 kilos saving aside, I think. So that's
massive.
That's a pretty decent saving. We've also stripped out most of the interior at the back and replaced it with a Wiechers cage. So even though we've added a cage in there, we've also taken out weight. And I think off the top of my head, we saved between 5 and 10 kilograms just doing that. So that was like easy. Like, we could even further strip the car at the back, but we've kind of just left it for now, and when there's an opportunity, we'll keep stripping out bits of the trim, and then we'll probably add some sort of paneling there just to make it a little bit neater and nicer when we get in it. And then most importantly, we've replaced the battery. So we've replaced it with one of our own Deadweight Industries Touge MAX, which offers better performance than the stock lead acid AGM battery. It only weighs a fraction, so the factory battery is about 28-29 kilograms.
That's a brick and a half.
It is. It's friggin' heavy. Like, it takes at least 2 people to lift it out of the back when you unbolt it. And we replaced it with a 6 kilogram Touge MAX. So that's a good saving of yet another sort of 22-23 kilograms on the weight of the car. So I think if my maths serves me right, it's been a while, the weight of the car now is under 1600 kilograms. I think it's around 1590. It's still a heavy car, but I mean, everything helps at the end of the day.
Yeah,
so
it definitely does make a big difference. Like, every bit of weight that comes out makes a big difference.
Yeah, so I think the idea is we start off with a Clubsport build, and depending on how well the rental does, we'll want to reinvest the money that it makes back into the car. So at the moment, it's a very comfortable place to be. It's got a great stereo. The front half of the car still has its full interior. But I think what we would like to do is make sort of marginal gains on the car. We'll probably further strip out bits in the back. We'll sort of change a few things here and there to make it handle a little bit better. But I think ultimately it'd be good to try and get the weight down with a few more carbon pieces, but keep the civility of the vehicle because it is a rental.
But I guess those PROTRACKs probably take a little bit more weight off, does it?
Yeah, I think that's the next thing we need to weigh up, right? We need to compare the weight of the 18-inch, the factory 19-inch competition wheels and tyres, and just see what they weigh compared with the brand new Cup 2s and the PROTRACKs. They're wider, 1 inches wider in the front and back, so we're going from 9s at the front, 10s at the back, to 10s at the front and 11s at the back. And we're now running 295s at the back and 265s at the front, as compared to 265 factory tyres at the back and 245s at the front. So there's a few things there that are making a difference to performance and weight. And then I think one thing we forgot to mention also was the Alcon big brake kit at the front. So it's an aluminium monoblock caliper, which is huge. I think the discs are 380, 390 millimeters, but I believe them to be lighter than the factory setup. Don't quote me on that, but you know, being forged in aluminium, I'm sure the calipers themselves are at least lighter.
So that's unsprung weight taken out. So the wheels and the calipers both unsprung weight. That's handy.
Absolutely.
And we should also mention that I think one of the big gripes with these cars is it's heavy, but also the brakes are just cheese, aren't they?
Yeah.
The stock brakes. So I think one of the first things you have to swap out to make sure you get a good driving experience.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I mean, look, the 1600 kilogram car, and if you are late braking and braking hard, the brakes will eventually fade. But when you go big brake kit, and for me, the RS29s are one of my favorites because they last a long time. They're actually easy on the disc, and they just don't fade. I guess I don't drive the cars as hard as some people do, but for me, they work great. And I think as a Clubsport rental, I think RS29s.
So they're Paget's, right?
Yeah, Paget RS29s in the front.
Yeah.
And I think we're just running just some Proto DS 2500s for the back.
Yeah, it doesn't do much in the back, does it?
Which I think will be more than enough for the ring. But, you know, it'll be I'm hoping this season it'll do a lot more laps. I think the only other thing that I really want done is a geo done by a local. So probably Philip from Nürburgring is probably going to do the geo and the setup on this car just to make sure it's you know, next level and done by a local that really knows the ring inside out.
Nice. Yeah, awesome set of mods, and so mostly suspension, braking, taking weight out. I think, you know, I don't know, for me, like a good reference point is always, you look at the E46 CSL, right? So I think the CSL took about 150 kilos out of the M3 weight, and that just made night and day difference. So I think, you know, aiming for something over 100 kilos out of this car, I think really improve how this car handles.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's the key, right? And I think a lot of people are sort of addicted to more and more power. But I think, especially someplace at the ring, it really is about the weight of the vehicle and just becoming a more competent driver on the ring. It's kind of setting the car up, sort of fast in, fast out. It's all about keeping the momentum and not washing off too much speed. So having a lighter car really helps in that circumstance without necessarily going up in power, and just focus on just making the car a well-balanced ring tool. I think that should be everyone's focus on the ring, as opposed to just outright power. Maybe
we're just getting old and value our life a bit too much nowadays.
I think either way, the ring's a dangerous place, mate. So I think having less power is probably better than more power sometimes. 400
plus horsepower is plenty, I think. So yeah, that's just a bit like, we get lots of messages from people asking us to just kind of talk about the cars in our fleet. So, you know, this is the first video we'll do on the E92. I think we'll probably do one on some of the other cars, the GT3, the E46 M3. So yeah, just hang tight. More content coming soon.